guys. All right, so we're back. we're back with another Lasker game, and this game is a special one. Where Lasker is playing Capablanca, who of course, one of the greatest players of all time, and this was for their World Championship match. um, it was what was it, tied? It was a tied match. Tied match. No. Capablanca was trying to get the title from Lasker, and he was a half point ahead. He only needed a draw. That's what it was. He only needed a draw to win this. So Lasker's white, and if you need a win all out, Lasker needs to win this. And if you need, this is a final game of the match. If you need a win, what do? You play aggressive, right? You don't play quiet. Lasker played interesting. I thought he had an interesting idea. Again, very psychological decision. Very, very wise, savvy. He played the exchange variation of the Roy Lopez, which is considered very, very solid, but not enterprising. And we'll see how that goes. We'll discuss. Let's see. E4. White plays E4. Lasker. Light brick. E5. Okay, again, Lasker has to win this game. See how he's using colors to win a game. Very, very positional. Let's see. Knight F3, tickling the pawn. Knight C6, and he's defending. Fair enough. Bishop E5, looking to maybe take. Certainly to tickle the knight, develop the bishop, and castle. This pawn is somewhat under danger. All right. A6. Now, the Roy Lopez attacks the bishop. Bishop back is by far the main move. Lasker decides on something we would not expect. He takes. Now, this is very small advantage for white normally. But again, we're not going to be talking about better, worse, advantage, how big. Let's get into what's really happening. What's the life of the position? And the life is the colors certainly at the root of it. And the bishop is what? Is $1,000 a light. A knight. 500 light, 500 dark. So when Lasker trades the bishop for the knight, he loses. We lose 500 light, but we're gaining 500 dark. Okay, he's also doubling the pawns. Doubling the pawns, which may or may not be an issue for black. White's ahead on dark money. He's behind on light. Usually that means we're going to put pawns as a mini bishop. Keep an eye open for that. White will probably be putting pawns on the light squares to rebuild his missing light bishop and his missing light money, his $500 light deficit. He'll be squeezing with pieces, again, pressing with pieces on the stronger color, dark, and rebuilding with pawns on the weaker color, light. Let's see. And the idea behind this, why he can't take, by the way, Queen D4 against the pawn. All right. The idea, though, behind this opening choice was black has to play aggressively. Let's see. Again, first of all, D4 was played. D4 was played. And trading pawns, forcing the trade. Queen takes. Trading queens. And here's the endgame. Here we could kind of almost begin from this position. Well, so the trade, very interesting, very nice. But this is where it gets kind of juicy, where the strategy where the dynamic, the imbalance begins. White's in some ways up a pawn. These double pawns in the endgame could be just a liability. White can make a pass pawn. In a pure king and pawn endgame, this is good to know. A king and pawn endgame, White's just completely winning. Okay, White's completely winning king and pawn. Now, it's not king and pawn endgame. There's a lot of pieces. And black has the bishop pair. He has light bishop is called a golden bishop. So if you have a golden bishop, it could be special. It should be special. We have to know it's there. We have to make it special. Appreciate it. Black dominates the light squares, and he should play accordingly. Now, in order for black to play this well, he should be playing aggressively. He has to play aggressive. Now, Capablanca only needs a draw. So in his mind, it's very hard to play aggressive when you only need to draw. So watch how he plays passively. And Lasker, little by little, increases his advantage because of the pawn majority, the healthy pawn majority versus what we call crippled pawn majority. Okay, again, these pawns cannot make a pass pawn versus this. These can. Healthy majority, crippled majority, and white also has more dark money. Little by little, Lasker used that. Let's see it. Bishop d6. Fair enough. Knight c3 developing. Knight e7. Castles. Okay, very solid. Castle f4. All right, he's just looking to advance. Maybe f4, maybe e5, maybe f5. By the way, it looks scary. First, let's say you have to make this. Let's say you're playing blitz here. Would you play f4? Well, it looks kind of weird. He just gets into a pin. You could maybe break the pin, but you know what? Again, we have to calculate it through. But what will help you in feeling a lot more comfortable is knowing that yes, there's a pin, but what is the pin? What color is the pin on? A dark square. Who has more dark money? We do. That already is a clue. It doesn't mean everything. You can't just say, "Oh, colors. Oh, I'm ahead on the color. I can do whatever I want." It's like it doesn't work very well. You're not gonna. It doesn't bode well. You're gonna lose pieces here a lot. But as a clue, if you're not sure, you're probably that's already a clue that you're probably okay, and you verify it by looking at the variations. Surely it's fine. I think even knight f5, for that matter, is kind of interesting, where you just literally offer the trade of bishops or take his bishop. He probably trades, we take back. We have a very strong, these old Russian school, we play the knights, great Russian masters of the past. Spassky, Petrosian, the knight on e3 and d3, very, very strong, fair enough. White's already much better. Trading bishops helps white because it takes away black's bishop pair. All right. So, what happens here? Hold on. So again, f4 was played, rook e8. He's playing, but he's not doing anything that adventurous. A little almost passive. Knight b3 looking to tickle the square. Again, what color is this square? Dark, of course. Almost trapping the bishop. Notice, almost trapping. Almost. Okay. f6, stopping. Rebuilding dark. Capablanca making a wise decision. Rebuilding dark. He's behind on dark. But you get the funny feeling that he hasn't really used his golden bishop. What could he have done instead? Well, you wonder if c5 is a way. c5, and then f6, and then b6. Something like that. Feeling proud. Putting pawns on dark, and get the light bishop saying, hey, you pawns go on dark, because I got light. It's like a feeling of pride in the light. And he didn't have that pride, didn't have that oomph. Again, he just needs to draw. Hard to have the oomph when you're playing for the draw, or frankly, playing for any result. I'm going to tell you guys, chess, don't play for result. Win, lose, draw. Play to play. Be enveloped in the game. Enjoy yourself. And feel good about what you're doing. And feel good about trying different ideas out. And feel good about trying the color themes. And experimenting. Okay, knight b3, f6. White makes a really interesting. Okay, he makes a really interesting decision. I think bishop's about to come here, be very solid. Take a moment here and think what white may do. Symbolic again. He's behind on light. What might he do here? Interesting decision. Okay, and he plays f5. What do we have here? Why are we missing this? Okay, f4. Okay, here. Actually, it was here. f5 is played. f5. It's blunting the bishop, but actually it's also rebuilding. Rebuilding white's mini bishop. Rebuilding white's light squares. It looks a little funny. It makes it backwards pawn. This pawn is wholly backwards pawn open file. It could become a target one day. I think it could become a target long term. Black would love the knight to get here and to attack the pawn with the bishop. The square is weak, but again, it's a weak square. There's a saying that a weak square is only weak if it can be exploited. A weakness is only a weakness if it can be exploited. It's kind of hard. I wonder if black should have played c5 right away, try to get the knight in. He played b6, fair enough. Try to get the bishop out. And now white makes a great decision. Bishop f4. Trading bishops is good for two reasons. First of all, when you're playing against the bishop pair, you want to trade one to loosen his bishop pair harmony. Okay. Step two, here, white has more dark money. By trading the dark square bishops, you're getting... It's like when you're ahead, you trade down. So when you're ahead on dark, you trade down on dark. This way, you'll have a better chance of using the dark squares. Interesting scenario here. Now black says, you know what? You could trade, but in order to trade, you have to help my pawns on double. Well, white says fine, no problem. I don't mind. And this golden bishop never does play. Let's keep an eye on that. The bishop is almost like black is bishop is here. Don't feel like he really appreciated it. Again, Capablanca is Capablanca, but you wonder if this certainly wasn't his best effort, and it was a little, just a touch passive. And also, of course, Lasker plays this extraordinary. Let's see what he does. Okay, knight d4, trying to get into the squares. E6, we spoke last time and a bunch of times about knight on the 6th rank. You can go to sleep. Lasker is enjoying these knights in the 6th rank. Okay. And let's see. He's trying to get a knight to the 6th rank. We had that with Blackburn, against Blackburn, right? He was Lasker was black. He got a knight to e3. Here he's trying to get to e6. It's a little more enterprising because here, in that case, that was his color. Here, e6 isn't even his color; it's black's color. But the bishop is passive, taking advantage. So rook d8. Okay. By the way, this is a dark pawn on dark, a little bit not protected, not a backwards pawn, but it's not a backwards pawn. It's called a hanging pawn. Sorts. It's flimsy and it's also on dark. Why does it matter if it's dark? You know why? Because white's ahead on the dark money. White's ahead. So white will say, hey, this pawn just kind of belongs to me. Rook d1. He's going to build up and tickle this pawn and really look to harm it. Knight c8. Black protects the pawn. Rook f2. Very nice. Doubling. b5 is trying to maybe kick the knight and then advance the pawns, and he's trying to use his bishop. And white says, no, I don't mind. Rook d2, rook e7. And c5 is coming next. It's clear that c5 is coming. This knight is protecting the pawn. Black is like, hey, I'll go c5, b4, and my bishop will thrive. And one day, black is saying, you know what? These pawns, what are you doing? Rebuilding. This is my color. Jokes. What are these jokes? Again, the eternal battle. The battle we always have in chess. Golden bishop versus mini bishops. On the one hand, when you're behind, when you don't have a bishop, you rebuild with pawns. On the other hand, the golden bishop says, what are you doing? This is my color. So it really depends how well you rebuild if it becomes a brick or a bug, a weakness. Our job as white is to prove that these are strengths, are bricks. He's trying to do c5. How do we clamp down? And you guys want to pause here. What's the move here for white? And the answer is b4. Dark. And again, usually pieces are on dark. Here the pawn is taking lunge on dark. It's just because we need to stop his pawn from advancing, and these pawns. Taking a lunge onto the dark squares. Okay, king f7. a3, very patient, very, very patient, no rush. Again, when the opponent can't do anything, you're going to really want to be patient. The knight can't move, the rooks have no future. So you want to a3. Let's put ourselves to a test, guys. Let's challenge ourselves to play moves like a3. Quiet, bishop a8, very patient. Maybe he's trying to rook a7. And trying to open up files. King f2. Again, we're seeing Lasker. If you guys remember last time, the king, his black, his king improved. Again, here, king improve. Enjoy the moment. Both here, we're ahead on dark. The king is in a way becoming a dark builder, almost like a dark bishop. Rook a7, g4, solidifying his pawns. Light Rebuild. H6, rook d3, no problem. Taking time. Okay, maybe helping the knight develop. Maybe getting the rook ready to swing. H4, here we go. H4 is preparing g5. Again, this pawn is on our opening lines in one day, opening a new front. Knight's pretty, but what else are you going to do? Opening a new front and showing white that, hey, I have more dark, and this will be... And the space advantage. Those two together, space advantage, and it having extra color could be very, very powerful. He takes, we take back. Rook e7. King f3, here we go. The king is coming up. Rook g8. King up again. Very patient. Look how patient that is. Look how patient. Okay, 1 second, guys. Whoops. Okay, back. Sorry about that. And g6, here we are. Apologies. G6 and rook g3. Rook g3 is played. Excuse me, rook g3. And again, preparing if the file's open, then the rook challenge the file. He plays g5. All right, g5, and white says, you know what, we take. Oh, he goes back. Okay, he doesn't take right away, because if he takes, he doesn't have to take. Right. Again, this is actually important. If you take, black hits the file first. You can't allow it. You can't allow it. So what we do is we first go back, then take. Remember, if he takes, we're happy to win all the points. Sweep up the pawns. What color are we sweeping him up on? On dark. Okay. We take, no problem. Get the file. Now, by the way, if you guys notice, we don't take this pawn. Because then he has a tempo. He goes here, check. It's a really great square. No need to get greedy. He doesn't need the pawn. Rook h3 first. Okay, and now there's a lot of threats. Check. Fair enough. There's a bunch of checks involved. So rook d7, king g3. He's trying to avoid that knight should not be checking. Okay, king there. There's also a problem with this. If knight c4, there's actually some issues because I think it's like something like here. Then like rook a1. It's really, really wild. Rook a1. He takes, check again, and hit him so hard. You win everything. It's just that knight on e6, that sleeping knight leaning into dark, sleeping, letting us sleep and overpower dark. So, okay, here we are. So he goes king e, again, he goes, not that, king e8 first, stopping any invasion. Rook h1, no problem. Trying to get in. The threat now is rook here, and then it's going to lead to some real problems with the bishop in danger. Again, if knight c4, it looks good, but then rook h8, I think it's just over. King f7, you check, you bully him, it's over. Yeah, it's just made. And he takes, and you win the bishop. So that's why he moves the bishop away. And now there's the most incredible move. One of my favorite moves in chess. One of my favorite moves. All right. Before we pause there, I'm going to do a little discussion. Again, colors. What are we ahead on? I've seen this over the years, and I was a young child over the years until recently, and it never ceases to amaze. And I think it's kind of cool to see this as, you know, the some of the generally themes of what it's taught, how it's taught, and also to add on top of that colors. It adds a beautiful extra flavor. It's really extra cool this way. And again, white has a lot of space. All these pieces are great. There's one piece that's not the best. What is that piece? Play the knight on c3. The knight on c3 is not the best. It is okay, but it's the worst of white's pieces. All right. Fine. Number one. Number two is what color is white ahead on? White has great file control. I mean, black's king is terrible. The bishop is weird. And white's also ahead on dark. Fair enough. All right. There's some dark targets. It's like this pawn maybe, this pawn. There's a lot of ideas here, but is there a knockout. And we need a little bit more dark, just a little bit more. Fusing the two together, finding the worst piece, and finding how, if that piece could help on the dark, that's going to be serious. So we want to pause the video here, and don't be afraid to take a little risk, maybe some positional ideas, positional sacrifices of sort. Take a moment and see what you guys come up with. Pause here. And we're going to now discuss the move. The move is incredible. E5, a sacrificing the pawn. If he takes, the knight goes here. If he takes this way, the knight still goes here. The knight here is hitting so hard into dark, lurking into dark, 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 dark. And it's about getting the energy flowing, overwhelming black. It's just too much. And I wonder moves like c5. You wonder about this. Trying to hit the rook and then stop the pawn. It's kind of cool, but I think an intermezzo, an in-between move is so brutal. Like where you just go here. Yeah, you just go here. And then he has to take. And then it's and there's no attack on there anymore. And then you just take. Go check, 19. Probably 98. Maybe not. You just take here, I would imagine. And then take here. Actually, attack the bishop and threaten e6. Anyway, it's completely over. Alright, so that's not happen. In the game, he takes, of course, 94. It's so brutal. Again, and they call it a clearance sack. This is one of the most, probably the most famous clearing a square. Clearing a square for the knight. Just giving the, and now this, and it's blocking his knight from getting there, and it's helping our piece of vacating a square. E5. Beautiful positional sacrifices, but in terms of colors, even extra layer of beauty where the dark overwhelms him, using the dark. Knight e5, trying to protect. Knight c5, this knight is, again, this square is available now. We got this, he got his dark brick away. Knight c5. And he has to give the exchange. If he goes here, we have like knight d6. We actually could just take. The knight d6 pops in. These knights are hopping every which way. Dark, dark, everywhere. All the dark squares are taking over. And light as well. But again, the huge dark squares are playing a massive role. Bishop c8. And he gives up the exchange. And then rook h7, trying to bully him here. And then the other rook flips in. It's going to be over. Goes check. Knight c5, and he resigns. If you guys want to pause here just to see the what's white's. There's a lot of threats, but if it's white to move, it's made in two. And it'll be made in two. Well, there's actually a couple. Knight check, and rook takes. Also, rook d7 is kind of pretty. He can't take it. Takes. He has to move, and then rook takes. Rook takes c8 is made. Alright, so we saw some interesting ideas here. Colors, where he just quiet play and little by little. F5, light rebuild, light with pawns, and trading the bishops. Again, a lot of those are trades. And very patient play. The king helped out. Never got too far, but the king could have gotten far in some cases. And slowly, faith in our color. And I think what we saw here is even a sacrifice using the colors. Improving the worst piece. Lasker's always improving the worst piece and using even a pawn sacrifice to get a little extra dark. We're noticing here the knight, the knight's outplaying the bishop, so don't be afraid to try knights. Try it out. Imbalances. Imbalances are great for you guys to learn. Highly recommend. And all right, hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much.